You were never supposed to open that book. The High Priestess's voice cut through the sacred silence of the archive like a blade through silk. Sarah's hands trembled as she stood before the ancient pedestal, the codex of blood open beneath her palms, its pages no longer blank, but crawling with words that seemed to write themselves in crimson ink. Her blood. The cut on her finger where the book had demanded payment still wept, each drop absorbed by the parchment, as if the tome itself were alive, and drinking. I did not have a choice, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. The Alpha King commanded it. She could still feel his presence behind her, a wall of heat and power that made the air itself feel heavy. Cale Thorne, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, stood with his arms crossed over his broad chest, his silver eyes fixed on the pages that had refused to reveal themselves to anyone else. For 3 days, he had brought scholars, mystics, even blood mages to this temple, and the codex had remained sealed. Until her. The High Priestess stepped forward, her white robes whispering against the stone floor. Her face was a mask of controlled fury, but beneath it Sarah could see something else. Fear. Do you understand what you have done, child? That book has been sealed for 500 years. The prophecies within were hidden for a reason. Some knowledge is too dangerous to be released into the world. Sarah wanted to step back, to close the book and pretend this moment had never happened. But her hands would not move. They were fixed to the pages as if bound by invisible chains, and the words continued to appear, flowing across the parchment in elegant script that she recognized from her years of copying ancient texts. But these words were different. These words burned as she read them, imprinting themselves directly into her mind. Read it aloud. Cale's voice was a command, not a request. He moved closer, and Sarah felt the heat of him at her back, smelled the scent of pine and winter storms that clung to his skin. Read what it says about the curse. Her throat tightened. Your Majesty, I cannot. The High Priestess is right. This knowledge was meant to remain hidden. A low growl rumbled from his chest, and she felt it vibrate through her entire body. I did not travel 300 miles and wait 3 days to be told no by a scribe. My people are dying. Every full moon, more of my wolves lose themselves to madness. They shift and cannot shift back, trapped between forms, their minds breaking under the strain. I will do whatever is necessary to save them. Now read. Sarah's eyes dropped back to the pages. The words seemed to glow now, pulsing with a light that matched the rhythm of her racing heart. When the Wolf King's line is cursed by ancient betrayal, when madness spreads like poison through the pack, only the blood scribe can break the chains. She who carries the magic of the first guardians in her veins, she who can read the words written in sacrifice, she must bind herself to the Wolf King through the right of souls entwined. Only in their union, freely given and sealed with blood, can the curse be unmade. But beware, for the binding is permanent, and the scribe will become what she was always meant to be, a queen of 2 worlds, bearing the weight of both human and wolf. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the candles seemed to stop, flickering, their flames frozen in place. Sarah felt her lungs constrict, as if all the air had been sucked from the room. She had just read her own fate aloud. The Codex was not just revealing a solution to the Alpha King's curse. It was revealing her purpose, her destiny, written in blood and sealed before she was even born. No. The High Priestess's voice cracked like a whip. Absolutely not. Sarah is under the protection of this temple. She has taken vows of service and solitude. She cannot be used as some magical ingredient in your political problems, Your Majesty. Kyle's hand shot out and grasped Sarah's shoulder, turning her to face him. His touch sent a shock of electricity racing down her spine, and for the first time since he had arrived at the temple, she met his eyes directly. They were the color of molten silver, ancient and fierce, and in their depths she saw his wolf looking back at her. Recognition slammed into her like a physical blow. Her knees went weak. "You feel it?" It was not a question. His fingers tightened on her shoulder, not painfully, but with an intensity that made it impossible to look away. "I can see it in your eyes. The bond. The pull. My wolf knows you, scribe. He has been restless since the moment I entered this temple. And now I understand why." Sarah shook her head, trying to deny what every cell in her body was screaming. "That is impossible. I am human. I have no wolf. I am nobody." His other hand came up to cup her face, his palm rough and warm against her cheek. "The Codex says otherwise. It calls you the Blood Scribe, the last of the first guardians. You are not nobody. You are exactly who I have been searching for." The High Priestess moved between them, forcing Kale to release Sarah. "She is not a tool for you to use, Alpha King. The Rite of Souls Entwined is no simple spell. It is a complete binding, permanent and unbreakable. You would chain this girl to you for eternity, force her to give up everything she knows, all to save your pack. That is not a choice. That is coercion." Kale's expression hardened. "My people are dying. Every day I delay, more wolves fall to the madness. If this scribe is the solution, then I will do whatever is necessary to convince her. But make no mistake, High Priestess. I am not leaving this temple without her." Sarah's mind raced. Everything was happening too fast. Just this morning she had been in the scriptorium, carefully copying a text about moon phases and their effects on transformation. She had been invisible, unimportant, safe in her routine. Now she was standing in the heart of the temple, with an ancient book of prophecy declaring her the key to saving an entire kingdom, and the most powerful alpha in the realm looking at her like she was the answer to every question he had ever asked. "I need time," she heard herself say. "I need to understand what this means, what the Codex is really asking." Kyle studied her for a long moment, then stepped back. "You have until dawn. At first light, I will expect your answer. If you agree to help me, we will perform the Rite of Souls Entwined and return to my territory immediately. If you refuse, I will find another way, but I promise you, scribe, my wolf will not forget you, and neither will I." He turned and strode from the archive, his presence leaving a void that made the massive room feel suddenly cold and empty. The High Priestess immediately grasped Sarah's arm, pulling her away from the Codex. "Listen to me carefully, child. That man is dangerous. He is used to taking what he wants, bending the world to his will. If you agree to this binding, you will lose yourself. You will become nothing more than an extension of his power." Sarah looked down at the book, at the words still glowing on the pages. What if he is right? What if I am meant to do this? The Codex opened for me, no one else. My blood activated it. Does that not mean something? The older woman's grip tightened. "It means you carry magic you do not understand. Magic that makes you valuable. Dangerous. The first guardians were powerful, yes, but they were also hunted. Destroyed. There is a reason there are no more of them, Sarah. Their power made them targets." Sarah pulled her arm free gently. "I have spent my entire life copying other people's stories, preserving their histories, their prophecies, their destinies. I never imagined I might have my own. Maybe this is why I was brought to this temple as a child. Maybe everything has been leading to this moment." The High Priestess's expression softened slightly. "Or maybe you are simply a young woman who has been given an impossible choice by a man who holds all the power. Do not mistake his need for your purpose, Sarah. You owe him nothing." But even as the words were spoken, Sarah felt the pull. The bond that Kale had mentioned was not her imagination. It was real, a golden thread connecting her to him, humming with energy she could not name but could not deny. She had felt it the moment he had entered the temple 3 days ago, an awareness of his presence that had made concentration impossible. She had told herself it was simply the natural reaction any woman would have to a man of such obvious power and presence. But it was more than that. Her body knew him, recognized him, wanted him in a way that defied logic or reason. If you are enjoying this story, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. Sarah spent the night in her small chamber, but sleep was impossible. The Codex's words played over and over in her mind, each repetition revealing new layers of meaning. She who carries the magic of the first guardians in her veins. She had always known she was different. The other scribes could not feel the resonance of the old texts the way she could. When she copied prophecies or spells, sometimes the words would glow faintly under her fingers, and she would feel their power, thrumming through her bones. She had learned to hide this ability, to never speak of it, because difference meant danger in a world that valued conformity and tradition. But perhaps hiding had been the wrong choice. Perhaps she had been meant for something more than a quiet life of scholarship and solitude. The memory of Cale's hand on her face burned like a brand. The way his wolf had looked at her through those silver eyes, with recognition and possession, and something that looked almost like relief. As if he had been searching for her his entire life, and had finally found her. A knock on her door shattered the silence. Sarah rose from her bed, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders against the pre-dawn chill. When she opened the door, she found not the high priestess or one of the other scribes, but a woman she had never seen before. Tall and elegant, with auburn hair that fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, and green eyes that assessed Sarah with cool calculation. She wore traveling clothes of obvious quality, deep emerald silk and soft leather, and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "You must be the scribe." The woman's voice was smooth as honey and just as sweet, but there was something underneath it that made Sarah's instincts flare with warning. "I am Vivian Ashford, daughter of Alpha Marcus Ashford of the Eastern Pax. I arrived an hour ago with my father. We heard that King Cale was here, seeking answers about the curse, and we came to offer our support." Sarah stepped back slightly. "It is very late. Perhaps we could speak in the morning." Vivian's smile did not reach her eyes. "Oh, I think we should speak now, do not you? Before you make a decision you will regret for the rest of your life." She pushed past Sarah into the small chamber, looking around with barely disguised disdain at the simple furnishings, the narrow bed, the shelves of books. "So this is where you live? How quaint. Tell me, scribe, do you truly believe you can be a queen? Do you think you have any idea what it takes to rule beside a man like Cale Thorne?" Sarah closed the door quietly, keeping her voice level despite the anger rising in her chest. "I do not recall saying I wanted to be a queen." Vivian laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "Please, I saw the way you looked at him in the archive, like he was some hero from one of your precious stories. But let me tell you the truth about the Alpha King. He is a weapon. A beautifully crafted, perfectly controlled weapon who has spent his entire life learning how to use people to achieve his goals. He does not want you because of some mystical bond or destiny. He wants you because you can give him what he needs. The moment you are no longer useful, you will be discarded." Sarah felt her hands curl into fists. "Why are you here, Lady Vivian? If you have come to warn me away from the king, you are wasting your time. I have not made any decision yet." "Yes." Other woman moved closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I am here because Cale and I have an understanding. Our packs have been negotiating an alliance for 2 years. A marriage between us would unite the northern and eastern territories, creating the most powerful coalition in the realm. It is the logical choice, the political choice, the choice his council supports. But now you appear with your convenient prophecy and your mystical bloodline, and suddenly he is distracted. She reached out and lifted a strand of Sarah's dark hair, examining it with mock curiosity. "You are pretty enough, I suppose, in a simple, untouched sort of way. I can see why he might be intrigued. But intrigue fades, little scribe. Politics and power do not. When the curse is broken and you have served your purpose, where do you think you will be? Tucked away in some tower, a secret kept hidden while he rules with a real queen at his side." Sarah jerked back, pulling her hair from Vivienne's grasp. "If King Cale wanted to marry you, he would have done so already. The fact that he is here, seeking another solution, tells me everything I need to know about your so-called understanding." For just a moment, Vivienne's mask slipped, and Sarah saw the rage burning beneath the polished surface. "You have no idea what you are refusing. I am offering you a way out. Decline his proposal. Tell him you cannot perform the rite. My father and I will support him in finding another method to break the curse, and you can return to your books and your safe little life. Everyone wins." Sarah met her gaze steadily. "Everyone except the people dying from the curse while you play political games. This is not about you or me, Lady Vivienne. This is about stopping suffering. If I can help, if the Codex says I am the only one who can, then my comfort and my preferences are irrelevant." Vivienne's expression hardened into pure ice. "Then you are a fool. And fools do not last long in the world of wolves, scribe. Remember that when reality comes for you." She swept from the room, leaving Sarah standing alone in the aftermath of her venom. But rather than feeling intimidated, Sarah felt something else entirely. Certainty. Vivienne's desperation, her need to frighten Sarah away, revealed more than any amount of reassurance could have. Cale was not playing games. The bond was real, real enough that a woman who had clearly expected to be queen was terrified of losing her position. Sarah moved to her window and looked out at the pre-dawn sky. The stars were beginning to fade, the horizon lightening with the approach of sunrise. Her time to decide was running out. She thought of the wolves Cale had described, trapped between forms, their minds fracturing under the weight of the curse. She thought of the Codex, opening only for her blood, marking her as the solution. She thought of the pull she had felt from the moment the Alpha King had entered the temple, the recognition that had passed between them in the archive. Every rational part of her mind screamed that this was madness. She barely knew this man. The right of souls entwined was permanent. Once bound, there would be no escape, no changing her mind, no going back to the life she had known. But perhaps that life had always been temporary. Perhaps she had been waiting, all these years, for her story to truly begin. When dawn broke, Sarah was standing in the temple courtyard, dressed in the simple gray robes of a scribe. Her dark hair braided down her back. The Codex of Blood was in her arms, heavy and warm, its pages still marked with her blood. Cale emerged from the guest quarters looking like he had not slept either, his silver eyes finding her immediately across the courtyard. The bond between them pulled taut, a living thing that sang in her veins. He crossed to her in long strides, and she saw the question in his face before he spoke it aloud. "Have you decided?" Sarah took a breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her shoulders like a mantle. "I will perform the rite with you. I will bind myself to you and help you break the curse. But I have conditions." His eyebrows rose slightly. "Conditions?" She lifted her chin, meeting his gaze without flinching. "I am not doing this to be your political pawn or your convenient solution. If we are to be bound, soul to soul, then I want your word that you will treat me as an equal partner, not a tool to be used and set aside when I am no longer needed. I want your promise that once the curse is broken, you will not discard me or hide me away. And I want the truth, always. No games, no manipulation, no using this bond to control me." For a long moment, he simply looked at her, and Sarah wondered if she had overstepped, if her demands would send him seeking another solution after all. Then slowly, deliberately, Kale went down on one knee before her. The gesture shocked her so completely that she nearly dropped the codex. An Alpha King did. Not kneel. Ever. I give you my word, Sarah of the Blood Scribes. You will be my equal in all things. My partner, my queen, my mate in truth and not just in name. I will never lie to you, never hide from you, and never treat you as less than you are. This I swear on my life, on my pack, and on the soul I am about to bind to yours. He rose and held out his hand. Now come. We have a curse to break. The rite of souls entwined was not performed in the temple, as Sarah had expected, but in the forest that bordered the sacred grounds. Kale led her to a clearing where the first rays of sunlight were just beginning to penetrate the canopy, creating shafts of golden light that made the space feel otherworldly. The high priestess had reluctantly agreed to officiate, though her disapproval was evident in every line of her body. Alpha Marcus Ashford and his daughter Vivian stood at the edge of the clearing, ostensibly as witnesses. But Sarah could feel the hatred radiating from the younger woman like heat from a fire. The rite requires blood, freely given, the high priestess intoned, her voice echoing strangely in the quiet of the forest. It requires truth, spoken without reservation, and it requires the acceptance of consequences, for a binding of souls cannot be undone by any power in this world or the next. Kale took Sarah's hand, his palm warm and rough against hers. I am ready. Sarah looked down at their joined hands, then up into his face. In the morning light, he looked younger somehow, less like the terrifying Alpha King, and more like a man carrying a burden too heavy for one person to bear alone. As am I. The high priestess produced a ceremonial blade, its edge gleaming silver in the dawn. Alpha King Kale Thorn, do you offer your blood willingly to this binding? He held out his free hand, and the high priestess drew the blade across his palm. Dark red blood welled immediately, dripping onto the forest floor. I do. She turned to Sarah. Scribe Sarah of the Temple of Prophecies, do you offer your blood willingly to this binding? Sarah extended her hand, the same one she had cut to open the codex. The blade stung as it reopened the half-healed wound, and her blood joined his on the ground beneath their feet. I do. The high priestess bound their bleeding hands together with a strip of white silk. Then speak your truths. Let your souls recognize each other without the veil of flesh between you. Kale's grip tightened on her hand. I see you, Sarah. I see your courage, your strength, the power you do not yet understand you possess. My wolf claims you as mate, but more than that, I claim you as the one who makes me want to be more than I am. I offer you my protection, my loyalty, my throne, and my heart. I bind my soul to yours, now and forever. The words seemed to create ripples in the air around them, visible waves of energy that Sarah could actually see shimmering in the morning light. Her own. Words rose from somewhere deep inside, as if the codex itself was speaking through her. I see you, Kyle. I see the weight you carry, the fear you hide, the loneliness of power. I offer you my magic, my truth, my partnership, and my trust. I bind my soul to yours, now and forever. The moment the words left her lips, the world exploded into sensation. Fire raced through her veins, not painful but overwhelming, reshaping her from the inside out. She felt Kale's presence flood into her mind, his thoughts and emotions and memories crashing against her consciousness like waves against a shore. And she felt something else, something that had been sleeping inside her all her life, suddenly waking up. Power. Ancient, primal, devastating power that had been locked away in her blood, waiting for this moment. The silk binding their hands burst into flames, burning away to nothing. But their palms remained pressed together, the wounds sealing as magic fused their flesh. Sarah gasped as she felt her bones shifting, changing, her senses sharpening to impossible acuity. She could hear the heartbeat of every creature in the forest, smell the subtle differences in the soil beneath her feet, feel the currents of energy flowing through the earth itself. What is happening to me? Her voice came out strangely, deeper and richer than before. Cale steadied her as her legs threatened to give out. Your magic is awakening. The binding is completing what your bloodline started. You are becoming what you were always meant to be. Then she felt it. A presence in her mind that was not Cale, not herself, but something new. A voice, feminine and wild, humming with barely contained energy. Her wolf. Impossible. Humans did not develop wolves, but she was not entirely human, was she? The first guardians had been something else, something between mortal and supernatural, and now that heritage was claiming her. What do you think will happen next? Leave your predictions in the comments below. The eye transformation took hours. Sarah collapsed in the clearing, her body racked with changes that should have been impossible. The High Priestess tried to intervene, but Cale stopped her with a growl that made every wolf present, even Alpha Marcus, bare their necks in submission. She is mine, my mate, my responsibility. No one touches her. He gathered Sarah into his arms and carried her deeper into the forest, away from the witnesses, away from Vivian's jealous gaze. He found a small cave, sheltered and hidden, and laid Sarah down on a bed of soft moss. Her skin was burning, her eyes shifting from their natural dark brown to flashes of amber gold and back again. I cannot control it, she gasped, her fingers digging into the earth as another wave of power surged through her. It is too much. There is too much inside me. Cale knelt beside her, placing his hand over her heart. Then let it out. Stop fighting. Your wolf is trying to emerge. Let her come. Sarah shook her head, frantically. I do not know how. I was never supposed to have a wolf. This is not natural. His hand moved to cup her face, forcing her to look at him. Nothing about you is common or expected, Sarah. You are a daughter of the first guardians, bound to an Alpha King through a right older than memory. Your wolf is your birthright. Trust yourself. Trust me. I will not let you be lost. She stared into his silver eyes and felt the bond between them pulse with reassurance. He was not afraid of her. Power. He welcomed it, celebrated it, wanted her to claim every ounce of strength that was rightfully hers. Sarah closed her eyes and stopped resisting. She opened herself to the presence in her mind, to the wolf that had been sleeping in her blood for 23 years. The shift, when it came, was not painful as she had feared. It was liberating. Her body flowed into a new shape, muscles and bones rearranging themselves with fluid grace. When she opened her eyes again, the world was sharper, brighter, more alive than she had ever experienced. She stood on 4 legs instead of 2, covered in fur the color of moonlight and shadow. Her wolf was larger than she had expected, nearly as big as Cale's own, with eyes that glowed amber gold in the dim light of the cave. Cale had shifted as well, his massive black wolf moving to stand beside her. He was enormous, his shoulders level with her head, his presence radiating dominance and power. But when he looked at her, she saw only pride and possessiveness, and something that looked remarkably like awe. Their wolves circled each other, testing, learning, bonding in a way that went beyond words. When their muzzles touched, Sarah felt the completion of the binding snap into place. They were truly mated now, soul and wolf, bound in every way that mattered. Hours later, they shifted back to human form, their bodies tangled together in the moss, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. Cale's arms were wrapped around Sarah, holding her against his chest as if he was afraid she might disappear. You are magnificent. His voice was rough with emotion. Your wolf is strong, Sarah. Pure and powerful. I have never seen anything like her. Sarah turned in his arms to face him. I still do not understand how this is possible. Humans do not develop wolves. He traced a finger down her cheek. You were never fully human. The first guardians were created at the dawn of our kind, women chosen by the moon goddess herself to maintain the balance between worlds. They could walk in both realms, human and supernatural. When they were hunted and destroyed, everyone believed their line had ended. But it did not. It survived in you. She processed this information slowly. Then the Codex knew. It knew what I carried in my blood, knew that the binding would awaken it. Kale nodded. The curse on my people was cast by a guardian who felt betrayed by my ancestor. She used her own blood to create it, which means only guardian blood can break it. But a guardian cannot break a curse alone. She needs an anchor, someone to channel the power through. That is why we had to be bound. Your magic needs my strength to properly manifest. Sarah sat up, suddenly understanding the full scope of what the prophecy meant. The ritual to break the curse. When do we perform it? Kale's expression grew serious. On the next full moon, 3 weeks from now, we must return to my territory, to the sacred circle where the curse was first cast. You will use your guardian magic, channeled through our bond, to unravel what was done 5 centuries ago. She felt a flutter of fear in her stomach. What if I cannot do it? What if my magic is not strong enough? His hand came up to cup the back of her neck, pulling her close until their foreheads touched. Then we will find another way. But I believe in you, Sarah. Your wolf believes in you. The Codex believes in you. Trust that. They spent another day in the forest, learning to move in their wolf forms, exploring the bond that now connected them in ways that made privacy impossible. Sarah could feel Kale's emotions as clearly as her own, sense when he was near even with her eyes closed, hear his thoughts if she concentrated. It was overwhelming and intimate and terrifying and exhilarating all at once. When they finally returned to the temple to gather Sarah's few belongings before departing for Kale's territory, they found chaos waiting. The high priestess met them at the gates, her face pale with fury. She is gone. Lady Vivian Ashford left before dawn with a contingent of her father's guards, but not before she stole 3 volumes from the restricted archives. Kale's hand went immediately to the sword at his hip. Which volumes? The older woman's voice shook. Texts on curse-breaking, ancient guardian rituals, and one on ritual sabotage. Your Majesty, I believe she means to interfere with your attempts to break the curse. Or worse, to strengthen it. Sarah felt ice flood her veins. If she has knowledge of guardian magic, she could use it to prevent me from completing the ritual, or she could alter the curse in ways that make it impossible to break. Kale's wolf was close to the surface, his eyes flickering silver. Then we hunt her down before she can act. Marcus. He turned to Alpha Marcus Ashford, who had been standing silently nearby, clearly uncomfortable with his daughter's actions. Did you know about this? The older Alpha shook his head. I swear. On my pack, I did not. Vivian has been obsessed with this alliance, with becoming your queen. I knew she would be angry about your choice, but I never imagined she would go this far. Stealing sacred texts, potentially endangering your entire pack out of spite. She has dishonored our family and our alliance. Kale's jaw clenched. Send word to your territory. Every wolf in the eastern packs is to be on alert. If Vivian returns home, she is to be detained immediately and held for questioning. She is not to be harmed, but she is not to be allowed to complete whatever she is planning. Marcus bowed deeply. It will be done, Your Majesty. And please, allow me to offer whatever resources you need to track her and recover the texts. My daughter's actions are my responsibility, and I will do everything in my power to make this right. After Marcus departed, Sarah turned to Kale. We need to leave for your territory immediately. If she plans to sabotage the ritual, we need to strengthen the protections around the sacred circle before the full moon. Kale nodded, but his expression was troubled. There is something else we need to discuss. The curse affects my wolves on the full moon, forcing them into uncontrolled shifts. During that time, the entire pack is vulnerable, dangerous even to themselves. You will need to perform the breaking ritual while surrounded by hundreds of wolves, who may not be fully rational. It is going to be dangerous, Sarah. More dangerous than I initially told you. She met his gaze steadily. Are you trying to give me a chance to back out? A slight smile touched his lips, despite the seriousness of the situation. No, I am just making sure you understand what you are walking into. You are my mate now, bound to me for life. But you still deserve the full truth. Sarah reached up and took his face in her hands. Then here is my truth. I am terrified. I have no idea how to control this magic inside me. No training in breaking curses and no experience being anything other than a quiet scribe. But I also know that I am exactly where I am meant to be. With you. Facing this together. So let us go to your territory. Prepare for the ritual and save your people. And if Vivian tries to stop us, we will deal with her too. The journey to the Northern Territories took 5 days of hard riding. Kale had brought a small contingent of his elite guards, wolves who had proven resistant to the worst effects of the curse, though even they showed signs of strain. Sarah rode beside Kale, her new wolf senses making her hyper-aware of every sound and scent in the forest around them. She could feel the approach of the full moon like a physical weight pressing against her consciousness, and through the bond, she could sense Kale's growing tension. On the third night, as they made camp in a clearing, one of the guards approached Kale with news. Your Majesty, scouts report that Lady Vivian was seen 2 days ago near the Shadow Peak Mountains, traveling with a small group toward the ancient ruins of the First Temple, the place where the original Guardians performed their most powerful rituals. Kale swore under his breath. She is looking for more knowledge, more ways to interfere with the curse breaking. We need to increase our pace. If she reaches those ruins and finds what she is looking for, she could become a serious threat. Sarah felt a pull toward the mountains, a resonance that seemed to be coming from her newly awakened guardian blood. I need to go there, to the First Temple. If Vivian is searching for guardian magic, I need to understand it better than she does. I need to know what I am truly capable of before I attempt to break the curse. Kale turned to her, conflict clear in his expression. Splitting our forces is dangerous, and sending you into ruins that may be trapped or protected by ancient magic is not something I am willing to risk. She stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. You said I was your equal, your partner. Trust me to do this. Take your guards and continue to your territory. Prepare the sacred circle and your pack for the ritual. I will go to the First Temple with 2 guards as escorts, learn what I can, and meet you before the full moon. We have time, Kyle. Barely, but enough. He caught her hand, pressing it harder against his chest. If anything happens to you, if you are hurt or trapped or taken, I will feel it through the bond, and I will burn the world to ash to get you back. If you want to see how this story ends, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Sarah smiled softly. Then it is a good thing I have no intention of being hurt, trapped, or taken. I am a guardian now, remember? I have magic older than your kingdom flowing through my veins. And I have a wolf who is just as stubborn as yours. I will be fine. After more argument and negotiation, Kale finally agreed to let her go, but only with 4 of his best guards and a promise to check in through the bond every few hours. As Sarah rode toward the Shadow Peak Mountains, she felt her anxiety warring with excitement. This was the first time in her life she had traveled anywhere without supervision or restriction. The first time she had been trusted to act on her own initiative. It felt like freedom and terror in equal measure. The ruins of the first temple rose from the mountainside like broken teeth, ancient stone columns reaching toward the sky, walls carved with symbols that made Sarah's new magic sing in recognition. Her wolf was on high alert, sensing both power and danger saturating every inch of the place. One of her guards, a female wolf named Tessa, moved to her side. "Your Majesty, this place feels wrong. Too quiet. Like it is waiting for something." Sarah had asked the guards not to call her that, but the title had stuck, the moment news of her binding to Cale had spread through his ranks. It is waiting for guardian blood. These ruins were built by my ancestors. They will recognize me. She dismounted and approached the entrance, a massive archway covered in vines and moss. The moment her hand touched the stone, the symbols carved into it flared with golden light, and the vines withered away, revealing a passage into darkness. The guards exchanged nervous glances, but Sarah felt only certainty. "Wait here. I need to enter alone. These protections were designed to keep everyone out except guardians. If you try to follow, the temple may react defensively." Tessa protested. "The king ordered us to stay with you at all times." Sarah turned and met the other woman's eyes, letting a hint of her wolf show in her gaze. "And I am ordering you to wait here. I will be fine." She entered the temple before anyone could argue further. Inside, the darkness receded as torches along the walls sprang to life, revealing a vast chamber covered floor to ceiling in ancient texts. But these were not books or scrolls. The words were carved directly into the stone, thousands upon thousands of them, creating a living archive of guardian knowledge. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This was what Vivian had been searching for: access to the deepest secrets of guardian magic. But the temple had not let her in. Only Sarah's blood had been able to open the way. She moved deeper into the chamber, her fingers trailing over the carved words. Information flooded into her mind. Not read, but absorbed. Knowledge transferring directly from stone to consciousness. She learned about the creation of the guardians, women chosen by the moon goddess Selene herself to maintain the balance between the mortal and supernatural realms. She learned about their gifts, the ability to channel raw magic, to see the threads of fate and possibility, to break curses or create them, to walk between worlds. And she learned about their downfall, how they had been betrayed by the very people they were meant to protect, hunted and killed because their power frightened those who could not understand it. How the last of them, a woman named Thalia, had loved an alpha who ultimately chose political alliance over their bond. How, in her heartbreak and rage, Thalia had cursed his entire bloodline, ensuring that every alpha descended from him would suffer the same agonizing choice between love and duty. Sarah's hands shook as understanding crashed over her. Cale was descended from the alpha who had betrayed Thalia. The curse on his pack was not random. It was personal. A punishment spanning 500 years for one man's betrayal of his guardian mate. And now Sarah, the last guardian, was bound to the last of that bloodline. History repeating itself in the cruelest possible way. "Finally you understand." Vivian's voice echoed through the chamber, and Sarah spun to find the other woman emerging from the shadows at the far end of the room. She was holding one of the stolen texts, her expression triumphant. "I have been waiting for you to arrive. I could not enter the temple myself, of course. Guardian protections are rather exclusive. But I knew your curiosity would bring you here eventually." Sarah's wolf surged to the surface, ready to shift and defend. "How did you get in here? The entrance should have rejected you." Vivian smiled coldly. "There are always back doors if you know where to look, and I have had access to enough forbidden knowledge to find them. Now, let me tell you what I have learned while studying these texts. The curse Thalia placed cannot simply be broken. It is tied to the bloodline itself, woven into the very fabric of what makes Cale's family who they are. To break it, you would have to sever that bloodline entirely. Sarah felt ice spreading through her veins. "What are you saying?" Vivian's eyes glittered with malice. "I am saying that to save Cale's pack, you would have to kill him. Or at the very least, ensure he never produces heirs. The curse ends when his line ends. Those are the only terms." Thalia said, "So you see, your little mate bond is doomed. You can be his lover, his partner, even his queen. But you cannot give him children without condemning them to the same madness. And what kind of love is that?" Sarah's mind raced. That could not be right. The Codex had said the binding would break the curse, that her guardian magic combined with Cale's strength would unravel what had been done. "You are lying, trying to turn me against him." Vivian stepped closer. "Am I? Think about it. Sarah." Thalia was heartbroken because her mate chose duty over love. She cursed his line to feel the same pain forever. What better punishment than ensuring that love and duty could never coexist? That every time an alpha of that bloodline tried to choose love, it would destroy them? She pulled a page from the text she was holding it up to show Sarah. The words were written in the same script as the Codex, and with her new understanding, Sarah could read them perfectly. Her heart sank. Vivian was not lying. The curse was designed to be unbreakable by conventional means. It could only end when the bloodline ended. But there had to be another way. The Codex had been so specific. It had named Sarah as the solution, the one who could break the chains. It would not have led her to Kyle only to tell her the situation was hopeless. "There is something you are not telling me." Sarah's voice was steady, despite the fear clawing at her insides. "The Codex would not have opened for me, would not have initiated the binding, if there was no path forward. What are you leaving out?" Vivian's smile faltered slightly. Perhaps the Codex is simply a relic of old magic, no wiser than the woman who created it. Perhaps it simply wanted a guardian to exist again, and used you to ensure that. Either way, you are trapped now, bound to a man you cannot save, unable to give him the future he needs. How long do you think your love will last when he realizes what you have condemned him to?" Sarah's wolf snarled, pushing against her control, demanding to be released. But she forced herself to stay calm, to think. Vivian wanted her to panic, to break the bond with Cale, or at least create doubt between them. That meant there was something the other woman feared. Some possibility she was trying to prevent. "You went through all this trouble, stole sacred texts, tracked me to these ruins, just to tell me the situation is hopeless? I do not believe that. You are trying to stop. Something you think I can do." For just a moment, genuine fear flickered across Vivian's face. "You cannot change fate, Guardian. The curse is absolute." But Sarah had seen enough, felt enough. The temple itself was humming with energy, responding to her presence, her questions, her determination. Thalia was heartbroken and angry when she created this curse. But she was also a guardian, a protector. Part of her magic would have wanted a way out, a chance for redemption, even if her conscious mind could not accept it at the time. "There is a loophole. I know there is, and you are terrified I will find it." Vivian's composure cracked completely. "Even if there is, you will never figure it out in time. The full moon is in less than 2 weeks, and I have already taken steps to ensure you cannot complete the ritual. I have information about the sacred circle that Kyle does not. I know how to corrupt the protections, how to turn his own pack's energy against your working. You will fail, Sarah. And when you do, when Kyle's wolves tear themselves apart in front of him, he will finally understand that I was right, that he should have chosen me." Before Sarah could respond, the temple itself reacted. The walls blazed with light, symbols igniting in sequence, and a voice filled the chamber. Not external, but resonating directly in Sarah's mind. "Daughter of my blood, hear me." It was Thalia, or rather, the echo of her consciousness that she had left embedded in the temples. Foundations. I speak to you across the centuries because my sister guardians saw what I in my pain could not. Love and duty need not be enemies. A bond forged in truth can heal even the deepest wound, but only if you are willing to pay the price. Images flooded Sarah's mind. The ritual Thalia had intended, before grief twisted it into a curse. A binding not of punishment, but of purification, where guardian magic would cleanse a bloodline of its capacity for betrayal, ensuring that anyone born of that line would be incapable of choosing power over love. It would not end the bloodline. It would redeem it. But the magic required was immense. It would take not just Sarah's power, but her life force, burning through years of her existence to fuel the transformation. She would survive, but she would be changed. Mortal, not immortal as guardians were meant to be. Her wolf might weaken or even fade. She would grow old at a normal human pace, while Kyle, bound to the magic of his kind, would live for centuries. No. Kale's voice roared through the bond between them, and Sarah realized he had felt everything she had learned, seen every image Thalia's echo had shown her. Sarah, do not even consider it. I will not let you sacrifice yourself for this. We will find another way. But Sarah felt a calm certainty settling over her. This was why the Codex had chosen her, why the binding had been necessary. Not to create a weapon, but to create a willing bridge between two magics that had been at war for 500 years. I have to do this, Kyle. It is the only way to truly break the curse without ending your bloodline. And I am not sacrificing myself. I am choosing our future. A real future, not one built on lies or politics or half measures. His denial crashed through the bond like thunder. A future where you grow old and die while I continue. Where I watch you fade year by year, knowing I cannot follow. That is not a future I want. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling tears track down her cheeks even as she smiled. But it is one I want. One where you can have children without fear. Where your pack can heal. Where we can build something real together, for however long we have. That is worth everything to me. Vivian was backing toward the exit, clearly realizing the situation had spiraled beyond her control. This is insane. You are going to kill yourself trying to perform magic you barely understand. Sarah turned to face her, and the full weight of her guardian power blazed in her eyes, no longer uncertain or tentative, but fierce and controlled. Leave, now, before I decide that your interference has earned you more than just my contempt. The other woman fled, her footsteps echoing through the ancient halls. Alone in the temple, Sarah sank to her knees, overwhelmed by everything she had learned, everything she would have to do. But she did not feel afraid anymore. She felt ready. The ride back to Kale's territory was the longest 2 days of Sarah's life. She could feel his presence getting closer, the bond between them vibrating with his urgency to reach her. When she finally saw the walls of his stronghold rising from the northern plains, her breath caught. It was massive, built of dark stone and ancient timber, sprawling across a valley like a sleeping giant. This was her home now, her kingdom. Kale met her at the gates, and before she could dismount, he had pulled her from her horse and into his arms. His embrace was fierce, desperate, his face buried in her hair. Never do that again. Never go where I cannot protect you. She held him just as tightly. We need to talk about what I learned, about what the ritual will really require. He pulled back just enough to look at her face. I know what it will require. I felt it all through the bond. And I am telling you, we are not doing it. Not if it costs you that much. Sarah reached up and cupped his face in her hands. It is my choice to make, Kyle. My magic, my life, my decision. And I have already decided. We are performing the ritual at the full moon, exactly as Thalia originally intended. We are going to break this curse and give your people the future they deserve." His jaw clenched. "And what about the future you deserve? What about growing old together, having centuries to explore this bond, to build our kingdom side by side? You are asking me to accept losing you." Tears filled her eyes, but her voice remained steady. "You are not losing me. I will still be here. Still your mate, still your queen. Just mortal, like I was always supposed to be." Guardians were never meant to be immortal, Kale. That was a gift from Selene that came with a terrible price. Maybe becoming fully mortal again is not a sacrifice. Maybe it is a return to what I should have been all along. A woman who gets to live a full human life with the man she loves, instead of an immortal guardian standing watch alone for eternity. He pressed his forehead against hers, his breath ragged. "I cannot bear the thought of a world without you in it." She smiled through her tears. "Then we had better make every moment count, starting right now." The next 10 days were a whirlwind of preparation. Sarah worked with Kale's pack mystics to prepare the sacred circle, layering protection after protection to prevent any interference from Vivian or her allies. She studied the ritual obsessively, burning the words into her memory until she could recite every step in her sleep. And she spent her nights with Kale, learning every inch of him, memorizing the way he laughed, the sound of his voice in the dark, the feel of his hands on her skin. They did not speak of the cost the ritual would demand. There were no more arguments, no attempts to change her mind. He seemed to understand that this was her choice, her purpose, and that loving her meant respecting it, even when it broke his heart. On the night before the full moon, as they lay tangled together in his chambers, Kale finally spoke. The words he had been holding back. "I love you, Sarah. I do not know if I have said it clearly enough, but I love you more than I thought I could love anything. You walked into my life when I had given up on hope, and you gave me something to fight for beyond duty and obligation. You gave me a future I actually want to live." Sarah turned in his arms, her eyes shining in the moonlight streaming through the windows. "I love you too, and that is why I have to do this, because a love like ours deserves a chance to grow without the shadow of a curse hanging over it. Because the children we might have someday deserve to be born free of that legacy. Because your pack deserves a king who can lead them without fear of losing himself to madness." He kissed her then, deep and desperate, and full of everything words could not express. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his hand over her heart. "Then let us break this curse, together, as partners, as mates, as equals." The full moon rose over the sacred circle like a silver coin suspended in the night sky. Kale's entire pack had gathered, hundreds of wolves forming concentric rings around the ancient stones. Sarah could feel the curse activating, could see the first signs of uncontrolled shifting beginning in the younger wolves. They had perhaps an hour before the madness set in completely. She stood at the center of the circle, wearing white robes that the pack mystics had prepared, her dark hair unbound and flowing. Down her back, the Codex of Blood rested on a stone altar before her, open to the pages that detailed Thalia's original ritual. Kyle stood beside her in his ceremonial armor, every inch the Alpha King, but his hand was clasped tightly in hers. "Begin whenever you are ready," he said quietly. "I am with you, no matter what." Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice ringing out clear and strong over the assembled wolves. 500 years ago, a guardian was betrayed by the wolf she loved. In her pain, she cursed an entire bloodline to suffer as she had suffered. Tonight, we end that cycle, not through vengeance or destruction, but through transformation, through love freely given and bonds forged in truth. She placed her free hand on the codex and immediately felt the ancient magic surge to life. Her blood, still marked on its pages, began to glow. "I call upon the power of the first guardians, the magic granted by Selene herself. I offer my immortality, my years beyond." Counting, as fuel for this working. Let my mortal life redeem what was broken. Let my sacrifice heal what was corrupted. The air around them began to shimmer, reality bending as guardian magic responded to her call. Cale's grip on her hand tightened as he added his own power to the working, his wolf rising to join with hers, their combined strength creating a pillar of light that shot up from the circle into the night sky. Sarah felt her life force beginning to flow into the ritual, years, peeling away like pages from a book. But instead of weakness, she felt clarity, purpose. This was what she had been born to do. Not to preserve prophecies written by others, but to write a new story entirely. I name this bloodline Purified. Her voice was no longer entirely her own, but layered with the echoes of every guardian who had come before her. Let no descendant of this line ever again choose power over love, duty over truth, or ambition over honor. Let them be bound by their own integrity, unable to betray those they have pledged themselves to. This is not a curse, but a blessing. Not a punishment, but a gift. From this night forward, the wolves of the Northern Territories are free. The magic reached its crescendo, and Sarah felt something inside her snap. Not break, but transform. Her immortal guardian essence fractured and reformed into something smaller, simpler, utterly mortal. Her wolf, sensing the change, howled in distress, but Sarah sent her waves of reassurance. They would both survive. Just different than before. Around the circle, the effects were immediate. Wolves who had been losing themselves to uncontrolled shifts suddenly stabilized, their forms becoming solid and certain. The madness that had been building drained away like water through a sieve, replaced by clarity and control. The curse was broken. Truly, completely, permanently broken. Sarah's knees buckled, and Kyle caught her, lowering them both to the ground as the light from the ritual slowly faded. She was exhausted beyond anything she had ever experienced, but she was alive. And more importantly, she was free. Free of the weight of guardian magic she had never asked for. Free of the impossible expectations of a bloodline she had not chosen. Free to simply be Sarah. A woman who loved a wolf king and had helped him save his people. Cale cradled her against his chest, his face buried in her hair, his shoulders shaking with silent tears. You did it. You actually did it. The curse is gone. I can feel it. It is just gone. She smiled weakly up at him. We did it. Together, remember? I could not have channeled that much power without you as my anchor. Around them, the pack had begun to shift. Wolves becoming human, and humans becoming wolves with an ease and control they had not experienced in generations. Cheers erupted, howls of joy and relief filling the night. But Sarah and Cale remained in their small bubble at the center of the circle, holding each other as if they might never let go. Later, much later, when the celebrations had died down, and they were alone in their chambers, Cale examined her carefully, his hands gentle as he checked her for injuries or signs of damage. How do you feel? Truly? Sarah considered the question. Tired. Different. My wolf is still there, but she feels quieter now, more settled, and I can sense that my body will age normally from here forward. No more immortal guardian keeping me frozen in time. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. I would trade every year I have left to give you back what you lost. She shook her head. I did not lose anything, Cale. I chose this. And I would choose it again, every single time. Because this is the life I want. Growing old with you. Watching our children grow if we are blessed with them. Building a kingdom based on honor and love, instead of fear and obligation. That is worth more than immortality ever could be. He pulled her close, and they lay together in the darkness. The bond between them humming with contentment and peace. The curse was broken. The pack was safe. And Sarah had found exactly where she belonged. Not as an immortal guardian standing watch alone, but as a mortal woman choosing love and partnership, and a future built on truth. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the balcony of the royal chambers, watching the sun rise over the northern plains. Her hand rested on her still flat stomach, where new life was just beginning to take root. A child. Hers and Kale's. The first of a new generation born free of the curse, able to choose love without fear. Kale came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" She leaned back against him, a smile playing on her lips. "About how I thought my story would be written by others, preserved in books and prophecies created by people long dead. But instead, I got to write my own ending, and it is better than anything I could have imagined." He turned her in his arms, looking down at her with eyes full of love and wonder. "This is not an ending, my queen. This is only the beginning. We have a whole lifetime ahead of us. However long or short it may be, we will fill it with truth and love, and the kind of story that future generations will tell for centuries." Sarah reached up and pulled him down into a kiss, pouring everything she felt into it. Gratitude for his trust, love for his strength, joy for the future they would build together. When they finally pulled apart, she whispered against his lips, "Then let us make it a story worth telling. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who loves epic romance. Tell me in the comments, did you see this ending coming? And if you want more stories of powerful wolves and the women who change their destinies, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because every week we bring you tales of love, magic, and the courage to rewrite fate itself. Thank you for listening, and until next time, may you find the strength to choose your own story.